All right, welcome to Naval News, everybody. Today we're going to get updated on what's going on in Venezuela. Our main focus today is going to be Venezuela and their integrated or not so integrated air defense systems that they have over there. Before we get to Venezuela, I want to talk quickly about the Nimitz carrier strike group that is transiting home to the state of Washington. They're stationed out of Bremerton up there, very close to Seattle. We've been watching them for about 4 or 5 months now. They've been at sea for a very long time, mostly off the coast of Iran and the Saudi Arabian Peninsula in that area. They're transiting through the South China Sea this past week when they had a bit of a mishap here. And we lost 2 aviation units, 2 aircraft within 30 minutes of each other, which was highly unusual and suspicious, and also a clue as to what happened. So the Nimitz, with all of her escorts, the whole carrier strike groups, sailing west to east, going through the South China Sea, when just a couple days ago, at the time of this recording, at about 2:45 in the afternoon, the MH-60 helicopter that you see here on your screen, one like it on your screen, lost power. Everything is running fine. Then suddenly the engine just starts losing torque, essentially. And it does a soft landing, as soft as you can do, right into the water. They couldn't get back to any kind of landing platform, whether it's another ship that had space available or back to the Nimitz. This happened suddenly without warning, and they had to do a water landing, essentially, losing the aircraft, the helicopter, in the process. Thankfully, all 3 crew members on board were recovered successfully, and as that recovery was underway, we lost an FA-18F, one of our newest FA-18s in the U.S. Navy out there. This is a 2-seater. Both pilots ejected. They were recovered as well, but we lost 2 aircraft within 30 minutes of each other. Very unusual. Losing an aircraft at all is unusual, but it happens. Having 2 from the same platform, the Nimitz, gone at the same time is highly unusual. I can't think of another time whenever this happened in the entire, since the Cold War. I don't know if it's ever happened before. So a lot of speculation as to what's going on, but there's 3 real main causes here, and the most likely one that everyone seems to be gravitating towards as the investigation begins, and we really won't know the answer probably for a few months, and then they may not even make it public, okay? But it looks like it might be bad fuel, because all the aircraft, whether it's a helicopter or an AWACS or it's the F-18 taken off, they all use JP5, which is the same fuel source on board the aircraft carrier. And what's funny is, or not funny, but coincidental, I guess, is that the Fleet Fast Fueler, the ship that refuels all the ships, also refuels all of the other ships when they're at sea transiting, going from, a very long voyage like this. So if it is contaminated fuel, and if it was contaminated at the supply ship source, it could be contaminated everywhere else. That's what's being found out right now. They're trying to figure out, one, is it was fuel the problem? Because it's likely that it was. To have 2 aircraft lost so close together during the same time of day, were refueled around the same time of day from the same source, it just makes sense to go down that road first and then see where the contamination happened, if it did, and does it affect any other ships. I would be very interested to see right now, and I'm sure they're not going to make this public, how many aircraft are airborne right now protecting the Nimitz. I bet you there's a lot of Air Force and land-based aircraft helping out right now until they figure out the fuel's clean. Now, I've watched some training videos that are made available by the Pentagon for the public to digest, highlighting some of the crew work on board aircraft carriers. And a big part of that is the supply system and the mechanics and the meticulous process they all have for inspecting oil and fuel every time they do maintenance and, of course, refuel aircraft. So I know there's a multi-step process that begins before it's even loaded on the supply ship. Multi-step process to bring clean fuel onto the supply ship, and then as it's transferred to each individual ship, it's inspected again, chemically and visually. There's a daily report to the captain of every naval vessel called a fuel, oil, and water report. And on that report, they have the results of these inspections and summaries. And that's a daily thing. Also, before they get loaded onto the plane, it's inspected again. It's several times along the way this happens. So if it is a fuel problem, it'll be very easy to figure out when it was contaminated and then resolve it. And because we didn't lose lives, thankfully, we can focus on correcting that quickly and then making sure everybody's using the right fuel. So that's the likely cause. The other two causes could be poor maintenance. Poor maintenance is always a possibility, and that this was just a coincidence that poor maintenance on a plane and poor maintenance on a helicopter caused both to go down within 30 minutes of each other. Not likely, but random. Things can happen, right? So that's a possibility there. The last one is supervision. You can always blame the supervisors. If it is a maintenance problem, it's probably a supervision problem as well. Hell, if it's a fuel problem, it's definitely a supervision problem because of all the inspection points along the way. So those are our three likely candidates because there's leaders in the Navy that are responsible for all three things. There's going to be, fingers to be pointed out. Unless they find that there's no cause and it was just a coincidence, which is highly unlikely. I don't think that's going to happen at all. We're going to figure out what caused this. Now, a question that I have is we lost this F-18 very close to China. It's in the South China Sea. It's between the Philippines, Taiwan, China, and Vietnam. Okay. Now, parts of the South China Sea can get kind of deep, but most of it's not that deep. We certainly have the ability to go and get it because we went and got our F-18s out of the Med when they crashed recently. What was the one? Norwegian Sea. We lost one in the Red Sea. Yeah. We seem to be making a habit of this. We fire captains about as fast as we lose airplanes around here, it seems. So we certainly can go get it off the seafloor. I think we will because you don't want that kind of technology just laying around. Now, whenever you eject, and the pilots that have podcasts here on YouTube can speak to this more than I certainly can, but whenever you eject, it fries all the crypto and stuff inside the plane. So they're not going to get that type of stuff, but still the hardware and technology and designs, I'm sure China would love to get their hands on one, even if it's fried, just to take a look at it. Those guys are really good at reverse engineering things. So I'm pretty sure we're going to go get both these planes. Whether or not it flies again, I don't know if it can after they recover it. Maybe they just get rid of it. But that's what happened recently with the Nimitz Carrier Strike Group. And whenever that report comes out, which, probably next year sometime, they'll have a result. And if people are held accountable, those will be, captains will be fired, whatever, maintenance officers may be fired. Who knows what the results will be. I'm really speculating at that point, but I'll bring it to you is what I'm saying. All right. I think we're looking good here. People are really piling in now. Welcome all the new people. We are going to move to our main topic today. We're going to talk about Venezuela's air defense system. And before I really get into this, I want to credit this gentleman here that I follow on Twitter, and I would recommend that you do the same thing. His name's Yasser Trujillo, if I'm saying his name right. That's his Twitter handle right there above my head. Definitely give this guy a follow. He wrote a tweet yesterday or a couple days ago, maybe 2 days ago now, outlining some of the three major defense missile systems that Venezuela operates. And it was a good primer for me. It gave me the motivation and the idea to go even further and break it down in even more detail for you guys here. So we're going to talk about Venezuela's air defense today. I just did a video on YouTube breaking down every ship in the Venezuelan Navy and what it's capable of, including their submarines. With this video, you're going to have a very comprehensive idea of what kind of defense Venezuela has from Navy, Air Force, and missile defense systems. Things that aren't covered today are the aircraft artillery, anti-aircraft artillery. We don't go into that. They do have those systems too. I'm simply talking about missile defenses, and it's just the three major ones that they have. They have man pads. They have shoulder-launched missiles as well. Not getting into those. We're just talking about the three major systems. Also, Mr. Yasser does credit something called the FAV Club for this graphic right here. I don't know who they are, but if you want to learn more about this, I would recommend looking them up as well. All right, let's get started. So the first one, and arguably the least capable system, is this medium-range Pekora 2M air defense missile system. This is a Russian-built system, as they all are today. Yeah, all are today. This system is It comes with a control truck that you see there, a CP, a radar. This is the target illumination radar above my head. I'm going to break all these down for you to the best of my ability. And then a battery truck, or it's simply called a battery, but it's basically a missile truck that the missiles are on. And for the Venezuelan configuration, which is different than the Russian one, they only have 4 of these batteries per unit. So they'll have a CP, they'll have a radar. There's actually 2 radars. There's a search radar and a target illumination like you see here on the screen. And then they'll have 4 of those trucks with 2 missiles on each. Different versions of this same system will have different configurations. So I'm simply talking about the one in Venezuela. And then finally, not pictured here, but coming up, is a reloading truck with a little crane on it. You'll see that here in just a second. All right, so this is Pecora 2M. 4 of these per unit. This missile has a range. The range that Venezuela uses is 13 nautical miles. Other variants of this same missile can reach out as far as about 16 nautical miles. But the one that we're talking about specifically is a 13 nautical mile range surface-to-air missile. Battery of 4 of these trucks, 8 total missiles connected to the control van and the search and target illumination radars all working together. From time of detection of the target, the aviation target, to the time this missile leaves the rail is approximately 15 seconds. It's actually 15 seconds minimum. It could be longer than that if the operators are not well trained or the target isn't very clear, but it's a minimum 15 seconds from detection to launch or longer. The setup time, despite it being on a vehicle, whenever this vehicle comes to a stop and goes from being a transport vehicle to the launcher vehicle, that is a 25-minute turnaround. 25 minutes. So they need to know where they're going to be and have some kind of defense ready, because if they're detected and intercepted en route, there's not much they can do about it. They can't just stop the truck, turn on the radar, and shoot. No, there is a time period that connects those 2 examples. So those are the limitations really of this, is that it takes a lot longer to set up than I expected. And then time to target or target to shoot is at least 15 seconds. Now, something that they did with this system, this is actually an upgrade of a system called the C-125. The C-125 you've probably never heard of, but that is the system that the Serbians used this missile to shoot down our stealth fighter in the 1990s. So they have that claim to fame. This missile system has that. This is the upgrade or the modernization of that system. And one of the things, not only is it a different or a better missile and components, they included 4 to 6 transmitters on these batteries of a CRTZ-125-2M, and that is an anti-radar missile protection system. The idea is that it transmits signals in such a way to obfuscate the signal of the radar, of the target illumination radar and the search radar. So when red team, whether that's the Americans or someone else, comes in with their anti-radiation missiles to destroy these search radars and illumination radars, it makes the target appear somewhere inside a 300-meter circle, so they can't get pinpoint accuracy with it. Now, the modern HARM and ER HARMs have other ways of getting around that. We're not going to go into that at all. But it's important that you understand that this missile system also has electronic countermeasures installed on it. And Venezuela does have this countermeasure. So it masks the location up into a 300-meter bubble that the weapon would have to just guess and just go to the best location that it thought it could go to. All right. This is the truck that brings the missile to the battery. Obviously, after they launch, they only have 2 missiles on each truck, so they're going to want to replace that as soon as they can. This little 6-wheel truck here goes around, a little crane on the back, and you can see the battery right behind it there. They're going to launch or just move the missile right over and onto it. It looks like it doesn't take that long to reload. You can see there's a missile already on the battery, and then this truck here is bringing a second missile to move on to it. Pretty good photos here from Top War. Top War is a good site that I found a lot of these systems on. And here we are. We have what I believe are Venezuelan operators for one of the batteries here. Here you can see in the back the supply truck. It actually has a missile on the crane right now. The Venezuelans are practicing their surrender. They're doing the half surrender. And then whenever the Americans come, they'll do the rest of it. Yeah, I'm sure. And then they have the illumination radar up there, ready to illuminate a target and engage it out to about 13 nautical miles. The radar does see farther than 13 nautical miles, but the missile has that limitation of about 13 nautical miles. And I want you to think about this too. So this will be going after probably Generation 4 or even drones, right? It's not going to be going after any 5th generation fighters. It probably won't even see the F-35 in my opinion. I'm just guessing at this point. I'm not an expert in this type of warfare. But if you are within 13 nautical miles of your target as an American pilot in, say, an F-15 or an F-16, a 4th generation fighter, what has probably already happened? You probably already have had weapons release and you are leaving the area, or you're monitoring it, but maybe got a little too close. You made a mistake if you've got within 13 nautical miles of your target. And the target, this thing would be as close to a high value location as possible, or this could be the target itself. And if that's the case, we have systems that will take it out well outside that range. I think this is not an effective system against the United States, except for our drones, Predator drones, the MQ-9, things like that. Certainly could take one of those out. Absolutely. Not a problem. All right. Second system. We're getting better and better with each one of these generations. This is number 2 of 3 we're going to talk about today. This is the Buk M2. Again, a Russian system, mobile SAM launcher. The Venezuelans have purchased 3 systems from Russia. They operate 3 of these. Each system has 6 vehicles. So that's a total of 18 vehicles for the entire country, broken up into 3 different units. And that's how they're employed. So a 6 vehicle team will go around with 6 logistic vehicles, 1 radar vehicle and 1 command post vehicle, very similar to the box truck you saw in the previous one, who would work with these units, link them together, give them targets, and then they could also, with the radar that you see there, illuminate and shoot on their own target if they found one themselves. Something that's interesting about the Buk, a new capability that Venezuela has with this over the previous one, is they can frog leap each other. So if you have 2 working together, which is normally how these 6 will work, they'll work in 3 pairs. Okay, and so 1 pair will be working together in a location. Let's say they want to move. Well, the CP and radar will link to one of the trucks, one of these transport units. The second one will leapfrog ahead to the new location. Once it's there, the CP will link to it. So then the second one can leap ahead as well. So they're very mobile, very short time to set up compared to the previous system, and they can leapfrog each other, maintaining connection to the command post and the radar the entire time. And they have the ability to fire on their own if they want to. So a much better system, but again, the SA-17 Grizzly is not effective, in my opinion, against a 5th generation fighter. And we're actually getting up to 5.5 now. That will be another lecture entirely. We've made upgrades to our F-35, and we have some new drones out that when that becomes public, we're going to talk about. So 5.5 is going to be the new buzzword, I think. It probably already is in some circles, but I'm just now learning about these new systems. But the Grizzly, my point is that it's not good against even Generation 5, in my opinion. You could certainly shoot at it. Good luck. But actually, you probably couldn't even do that. Anyway, it's good against 4th generation. That's the F-16, the F-15, the F-18, a 4th generation fighter all day long. It will see that and could engage it. The range of this, I didn't write down. I got to write that down. Okay. I'll put the range in the comments. Oh, geez, I forgot about that one. I think it's 20 nautical miles. I'll have to just guess. All right. Now let's move on to the last of the 3 systems. This is the S-300. This is the one everyone touts. You're like, oh, America's in trouble with S-300. Listen, jackasses. Syria operated the S-300 with Russian crews in much higher level, much better trained and better missiles, because there's lots of variants of the S-300 in Syria for years. And in 2014, we began operating our F-15s, F-16s, 4th generation fighters against this system. Thousands of sorties, 9 years, no problems. So don't even talk to me about the S-300 being some kind of wham-a-dime savior of Venezuelan airspace. I don't think so, folks. And we have better airplanes now. Good luck with the F-35. with this thing. But this is what Venezuela has and what people on the other side are very excited about. Let's talk about the range. This is a very long range radar capability. We have tin shield and clamshell and flap lid. Flap lid is the big radar you see in the top right-hand corner of your screen, also right behind me here on top of that hill. Looks like at a test range. Tin shield is the one in the middle. And then finally we have clamshell one is the one little, looks like it opens up right there. Clamshell. And that's literally how we name sonars in I guess it would be the NATO system, but I'll say the United States Navy, by how they look. Like whenever we look at ESM and it looks like a bass drum, we call it bass drum. Yeah. Whenever we look at a radar on top of a ship, like the Slava class, and it looks like a snare drum, we call it pop group. Yeah, because it's a band. Yeah. There's literally one called bandstand. It looks like a bandstand. It looks like a little stage, a little riser that you put a band on. Yeah. I believe they call that one the mineral. Anyway, I'm getting really distracted. Let's focus on the S-300 right here. So what do they have for this? They have one battery of this. One battery has 6 of the mobile launchers that you see there with 2 missiles each, total of 12 missiles. And they'll also have 3 logistic vehicles. Instead of 1-to-1, it's 1-to-2 now, right? And then they have the one radar vehicle, like you see here, which will have like the flap lid radar on it. And then they'll have the control vehicle, like you see in the photo there in the center, and a truck that will move. And a truck could probably tow the clamshell. I don't know if it does or not, or if that's its own vehicle. But what you really want to take away from this is that there's 6 of the trucks that have the missiles on them, total of 12 missiles, and they have 1 battery. Now, something that I'm aware of, but I couldn't find any source of, is in the 1980s, the United States sold at least 2 air search ground-based radars called TEIs. Anyway, it's an old American radar that they probably still have, but I couldn't find any confirmation of if those are still operational. And maybe if some of you aviation nerds out there know if they're operational, I recommend you take a look at. And here's all 3 of them together. From left to right on your screen is the less capable to the more capable in terms of range and performance and all that. And I really don't see the United States having any significant issues, barring any fuel issues, but no issues with these weapon systems. We can certainly destroy them at range. That missile jamming system they put on the early version is cute, but it's no longer effective in today's fight. I'm not going to say why. It's none of your damn business. Just know it's not going to protect you. And and then I'm going to wrap up with this because we've been busy. We've been knocking out these drug boats off the coast of Venezuela, but recently, within the past week or two, we've been starting to knock off some drug boats in the Pacific as well. And as you can see here, geography majors, that's off the coast of Colombia, not Venezuela. So it seems like we've escalated the coverage to include boats coming out of the Colombian area as well. I don't know if we're working with Colombia at all on this. I do have some feelers out there to get that update. Once I can talk publicly about it, I will. But in the past, I myself, on board a submarine, worked with the Colombian forces, and we coordinated drug ops. That's been the norm forever. So I would not be surprised if that continues to be the norm. But back then we weren't blowing the boats up. We were just capturing them. So, but now, we sank 3 boats. We've killed, it was 13 sailors. One guy was, survived, was in the water, pulled him out of the water, asked him who he was. He said he's a fisherman. So now we have 14 dead sailors. Don't lie to the Navy, because you're a narco terrorist, whether you admit it or not. So 14 total dead sailors. Recently, they're continuing operations over there. I think one of the reasons why we haven't seen a lot of activity in the Caribbean recently is because of that big storm. Melissa was out there kind of meandering around, causing a very high sea state. Obviously, those little boats don't work well in any sea state. But now that storm has moved north, I think we're going to see a couple more operations will resume in this area as well. But we're expanding it. People were complaining. I love the defense of Venezuela by both American newspapers and Venezuela itself. And their defense, they never denied making cocaine because everybody knows, but they were like, hey, we make less than Colombia. Talking about Venezuela, we make less than Central America as a group of countries. Why are you coming after Venezuela? And do you know what the administration did? They're like, you know what? That's a good point. Yeah, let's go after the Colombians the Colombia drug runners as well. And that's what we're doing now. We're blowing them up. And man, I'll tell you what, if you're running drugs in Central America, you might want to get a new job, right? Or if you're a fisherman off the coast of Venezuela, you might want to consider something else for a little while, because I don't think it's too safe out there. Anyway, so that's our update for this week. We'll get this video out as soon as we can. Hope you enjoyed it. And now we're going to get into some streaming. So if you don't watch us live, we're on Twitter every Wednesday, as well as Kick, Rumble, YouTube, and what's the other one? Twitch, around noontime, around this time. Okay, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.